Okay, so why would we even consider expansion and expanding? And what does that even mean? So today I'm going to share with you about what it means, why do we want to do that, and how can it improve our life and our relationship. I'm Emma Viglucci from metrorelationship.com, and I specialize in working with couples. My practice is dedicated to the well-being of couples. We help partners who are feeling disconnected and not on the same page connect more, feel that connection, create the intimacy, increase collaboration, create a strong partnership, and enjoy more connection, intimacy, and fun. And so if that is you and that resonates for you, feel free to check out what we offer in the description box. Feel free to subscribe, check the notification bell so that you get all of the information as we share them with you, so you get when the videos come out. If you are on a different platform than YouTube, feel free to follow us and keep an eye on what we offer. Let me jump right in. Let me share with you more about expansion. You might have heard that if we're not growing, if we're not evolving, we're dying. And I think that what that means, or at least what it means for me, and maybe you resonate with this, is that if we are not striving for more, if we are not bettering ourselves or trying to achieve the things that we want, then we're stagnant, right? And we do the same old, and we know how that plays out. Like, what do we experience during the pandemic, right? The same thing every single day. We wanted to poke ourselves in the eye. And so doing the same thing and being in the same place is boring, is stagnating, and it's just a waste of time and energy and life, really. We're not living a life to the fullest. We are here to live our life. And what that means is living it to the fullest, doing more, right? And not necessarily grinding, achieving more, and not appreciating what we have, accumulating for the sake of accumulation. Like that is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fully living and experiencing and achieving the things that we want, cracking the codes that we want to crack, having the human experience that we want to have. In that, we're always evolving, always growing, always improving, not because we're broken, not because we suck, not because we're not good enough, but because we're making things even better and we're having a full experience. Okay. So that's the lens that I want us to keep in mind as we have this conversation today, as you watch any of my other videos or read any of my content. That's where that comes from. So the first thing that I want to offer is to align with oneness. That will help us in our expansion, in our evolution. What that means is bringing us back to remembering that we're all energy and we're all connected at the end of the day. We are all part of the universe. We're all part of what is, of life. At the more granular level, at the cellular level, we just boil down to energy. So we are energy that condenses into this human form. And as being energetic beings, we're part of the whole energy of life. A great analogy that I've heard recently, I think it was by Michael Bernard Beckwith, is imagine yourself as an ocean wave. So you're an entity of and of itself, but you're still part of the larger thing. So you're a wave, but you're part of the ocean. You are a thing, part of the bigger thing. That's how I like to look at us humans as, yes, we're humans, but we're still part of it. We're part of what is. When we keep that in mind, then if we're all part of the same thing, we're all part of the oneness and what is, we're all interconnected, right? This is what's so beautiful about this. And the thing is that we forget that we're all part of the same thing and that we are interconnected. So we're never alone. We're never not in connection. And we're never separate. When we keep these concepts in mind, then we operate very differently. So if I change, If I do something different in that interconnection, in that relationship, I invite the other side to also change. If I'm doing something different, the other side, our partner, to be more specific, you could apply this to anything. By default, they will have to respond differently because they can't give the same old response to something that's new or that's different, you see? And so when we're overly focused on how our partner needs to change, we have no control over what they do per se. But when we do our side differently, we're inviting them to change. And this is what's so beautiful about couples work, relationship therapy, couples therapy, because we teach the partners that. And when people really embrace this and take this on and they focus on how they are showing up and what they're doing, automatically they're creating change in their relationship. And when both partners are doing that, ta-da! Then the waters part and the angels sing. But to the point of this conversation today, when we're in connection with that oneness, when we don't forget that we're interconnected and that what we do impacts and invites the other side, then we could be very intentional about how we're doing our side. But I talk about this all of the time, so just bear with me if you've heard me say all this before. But so what I want to offer you today is more specifically, one is in terms of feelings, right? If you're feeling resentful, let's say, and demanding, what might that invite from your partner? How you might be showing up if you're feeling resentful and demanding. What might you be saying? How might you be saying it? What will your actions be? How will your mannerisms be? How will your body language? And what does that say to your partner? And what does that invite back from them? What if you were to change that to being grateful and collaborative instead? How will you show up differently if you're feeling grateful and you're being collaborative? You see, language will be very different. Your demeanor will be very different. Your energy will be very different. Your partner will respond a lot better, I promise. What if you were being critical and judgmental? What might that do to your partner? How might they respond? And what if you were to change that to being acknowledging and validating instead? You see, different energy altogether. And what if you were being moody and cranky versus joyful and at ease? Right? So I know that you might be thinking, sorry to be my reader for a second here, but I know that you might be thinking, well, we can always be in a happy place. We can always be pleasant. Of course not. We're all on a journey. We all have bad days. We all get triggered. We all have stuff happening and coming at us. I get it, believe me. But the point is, I'm going to give you now 3 ways to deal with this. One is that you could set yourself up for that ease and flow. So you minimize how much you get triggered, how much you get discombobulated, how overwhelmed you are, how much stuff you have to do, all of the things, right? So you could set up your day, your routine and stuff to the best that you can to minimize all of the friction. And so you're more likely to be able to show up in those better ways. So that's one. 2, you could cultivate that state, which means that you want then to embrace the feeling state that you're looking for. And what that means is that you're going to choose the better set of those feelings and feel them and expand them and operate from that place. So the first thing is that you need to sit with, okay, what I want to feel like, what's the intention for the day? And then you have to milk it, feel it, experience it, just kind of really sit with it and cultivate it and expand it. You see? Sorry, my dog is here, my husband walking around, and of course everybody's getting excited in the house now. And then thirdly, once you're able to get to cultivate that feeling state, is to lead with it, show up with it. So we want to be then in positive expectation as opposed to all of the funky stuff. And then you engage from that place, right? So that is the way that we align with oneness and operate from the oneness in better energy. So now we're moving on to part 2, which is opening up for more. What does this mean? This means that we want to align with that oneness, right? So building up on part 1. When we're in alignment, then we're in connection to all that is, the whole universe. Literally, the universe is our oyster, if you may. From that place, we have access to everything. I'm sure that you've had the experience that when you're at ease or when you're in the shower and when you're sleeping, that messages come to you, knowing comes to you. You just kind of are more in sync, better things happen, like that kind of stuff. So that's where that comes from, right? So when we're in better alignment, we're in better mood, better energy, all the things line up, everything works, everything's easier, everything's smoother. That's the idea here, right? So from that alignment, we have access to all if we allow ourselves. That's the whole point. And so we want to be open to the idea. We have to remember that we're not separate, we're all one, and that we have access to it all and tap into it. So how do we do that? A couple of things here. One is to connect with our desires and what brings us joy, what gives us joy. If we know that this is the thing that we want that would make us happy, and I say that in air quotes because happiness is a choice, it's a state of being, right? And we could just generate it. But for those of us who are a little slower on the uptake on this, and it's hard to just imagine and generate it, which is not always easy to do, we could pursue creating the life that we want and the things that we desire so that we generate that joy. I say that very lightly because I don't want you to get hooked on that in the achieving and creating and in the manifesting and doing all of the things to feel the joy. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what are my desires? What would give me joy? What would feel good? And going about making that happen. To spark it, to cultivate it, not because we're dependent on it. Okay, that's the distinction. And so what are all the things? This could be as simple as getting a bar of dark chocolate and keeping it handy to have a little bite every night. That's one of mine. It could be anything. And so what are the little things? Having fresh flowers, right? I do that all the time in your house, in different parts of the house. So you walk around and you see fresh flowers everywhere. Some people might take offense to that. Like, you're killing the flowers, you're killing the plants. To each their own. Nobody's judging anybody. And so find what gives you joy, what sparks your joy, and put those things in your life. Another one with this is to have a vision for what you want your life to look like. What is the thing that you're here to create? What is the thing that you're here to experience? What kind of life do you want to have? What do you want to have left behind? Or what kind of life would you want to have lived at the end of the day? Right? So what are all the elements that you want to put in place? So if your life is a puzzle, what are all the pieces that go in it? And so thinking about that. And the last one with this is, what kind of flavor do you want your life to have? Do you want it to be nerdy? Do you want it to be adventurous? Do you want it to be cozy? Do you want it to be a struggle? Some people are here to really struggle. Okay, to each their own, right? There's no judgment. Our soul just wants to have different experiences, and we're all here for different reasons, and to each our own. And so getting in touch with all of that. And then the key here is embracing the possibilities of all of that. What are each of those things mean for us? What are the things that give us joy? What are the things that we want to create? What is the flavor that we want to have? And going about then embracing the possibilities, making the choices to allow those things to happen, to create those things, to pursue those things with ease and love and care and lightness. Just because we want to have the experience, not because we have to. If you had all those things, how would your life feel? What kind of feeling would your life have? How would you feel living that life? So sit with that, explore that, experiment with that, kick it around, move the different pieces of the puzzle around, get a different puzzle. And then from all that exploration and just kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fleshing out and just playing with, what could be some little habits that you could implement to start making those things happen? What's an action step that you could take to start creating whatever it is? So to have that little joy, buy the chocolate, right? Have the fresh flowers. These are just tiny little things that just sprinkle joy. And you could add that to the things that you do, the things that you buy, the routine, the lifestyle, the habits that you have throughout the day. You build it in, right? So little habits or an action step towards creating something. Letting go of a commitment. Stepping down from some position that you hold. I actually did something like that recently. So get involved with something, create something, and then detach from it and let it go and let the other people continue with it. That's a big theme in my life. So if that makes sense for yours, right? What else? Just what's an action? Decluttering a room, booking a trip, taking time off, like whatever. It could be little or small. And take an action towards it. Implement something so you start the thing moving. Okay? Okay. So now we're going to go into part 3. Part 3 is allowing love. In my opinion, and as part of my mission, and as part of who I am on this planet and in this life, and my soul's purpose is to bring more love into the world and to show more people how to have more love and how to do love and to feel the love and be love and all of the love things. So with this one, what I want you to get is that, what is that energy? I'm sure there's a gazillion million answers for that. My answer is very simple. That energy is love. And if we allow ourselves to feel the love, to be the love, to be that energy, to be present, to be in the now, to be in oneness, to be with what is, you see, all of this is connected, to connect to our higher self, right? To be who we really are. That in and of itself, just that shift in awareness and consciousness and way of looking at this, that in and of itself automatically generated more love. See if you could feel it, right? That shift in and of itself feels lighter, feels better, feels inspiring, feels energizing. That's what we're going for. So it could be as simple as that. Create that little mindset shift, right? Like that little awareness. As soon as you think about it, you're automatically in a different state. But because we're humans and we're on a journey and we have all of the usual awareness and the ego patterns and the usual humanness that we bring to this equation, we could do this the hard way, and it could be working on all of our patterns. And there's plenty of patterns, you guys, because that's what we do. We are a big old habit. We create the patterns. That's the human experience, if that's the way that we do life. And so there's a few different ways to tackle the patterns, the way that the patterns show up, rather. For example, the way that the patterns come about is through our belief systems. What do we believe? What do we think? What do we believe about relationships, about partnership, about commitment, about love, about intimacy, about connection? And this is just in terms of relationships. You could do this with all of the things in life. Some people might have the belief system of members of the opposite sex are not trustworthy. They would always cheat. And for same gender couples, partnerships, people in romantic relationships are not to be trustworthy. They're not fully committed. They always leave. They never do what they say they're going to do. It shows up in many different ways, right? They always let me down. I have to do everything. They're controlling, they demand, they don't let me be me. It shows up in many different ways, and many different ways that we have of looking at things that permeate how we connect with our partner and what kind of relationship we create. And so watching those belief systems, what do we believe about things, and really checking that. Is that really true? Is that a life rule that everybody will ultimately cheat, right? Sometimes we have to be careful because we manifest what we believe. We co-create this. We invite this even. Right? We manifest it or whatever. So we want to be careful what our expectations are. What we put out might be what we get. So one is the belief systems. Another one is scripts. What is our story that we keep telling about ourselves being in a relationship, or what kind of relationship we're allowed to have or able to attract and create. And so that script plays out. Then also, I said already, the expectations. Our defenses is another pattern. So these are all patterns, right? So let me quickly just touch on them again so this is clear. So belief systems, scripts, expectations, and our defenses. And the last one is how we sabotage. But so with the defenses, we might show up always very protective, right? Like we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. We have to be perfect, or we don't let our guard down, or we always have to be the broken one that our partner needs to fix, or whatever it is, right? So we have a way of just showing up in relationship in all of the areas of our life, but specifically in our relationship. And so if a partner tries to get close to us, what's our go-to, right? Do we just shut down? Do we withdraw? Do we get busy? Do we have other commitments? Do we complain about something that they did so they get upset and they leave and now we don't have to connect? Things show up in all kinds of different ways, right? If you start looking at this, it's very, very interesting. And so we might say that we want to be close, but yet then we do all these things to prevent that connection and to not be in connection, to protect ourselves, prevent the pain of being left or of being disappointed or whatever it is, right? So we create all this stuff. These are all patterns, guys. So be mindful of that. And because we have all these stuff there, then we show up in certain ways, which sabotage, right? So what we want to do with this is a few things. So I'm going to give you 3. One, we want to make sure that we are aware of everything that I just said, how the way that all these things play out and how we show up and how we inform ourselves and what we do and how we interact. And in that awareness, to recognize the Pareto's rule is called the 80-20 rule, that 80% about what's happening is about me, my belief systems, my defenses, my things, all my things, and only 20% about what my partner actually did. And so we want to, if an interaction is happening and we're like, we're all up in arms because of what our partner is doing or not doing, for us to say, now wait a second, what's my side of this? What's the 80% that's showing up right now? How am I choosing to look at this? I'm choosing to interpret my partner's behavior that way. I'm choosing to see them in this particular way again. They're doing this behavior, but I'm assigning it this motive. I'm looking at it as this, right? It's just kind of going through it to see if you could catch your stuff in that. And then you could address the 20% if you want to. But by the time you finish addressing all of your 80%, it doesn't matter what your partner's doing, really, at the end of the day, right? And by that, I don't mean that you allow your partner to be a jerk and to mistreat you or to not do it right by you and not to play with you at creating an amazing relationship. That is not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying that when we do our side, just automatically almost things become much better. So that's one aspect. The other side of that is, or another side of that is to put ourselves on our partner's shoes or the other person's shoes. Now, this might sound counterintuitive if you're really listening to my words, okay? So let me just be more clear here. The first part is to own ourselves and not own the other, not to say, well, they're doing this, they're doing that, and for all of these reasons, right? To like not focus on their side, to focus on our side. That's the first one that I said. And then the second one that I'm offering is to, if you're looking at your partner's thing, to see, okay, where are they coming from? Not where I think they're coming from, because that's our 80%. But in knowing who they are and how they operate and the fact that we're in this relationship and we're in this together and they're also on a journey. And if I were to stretch and if I were to put myself in my partner's shoes, where do I think they might be coming from, right? From their side, not from how I look at it. Hopefully that distinction makes sense. And in that, if we could give grace, if you may, if we could look at the positive side of that. So focus on not the motivation that we might assign them, but rather what intention they might have. And so piggybacking on this then is to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? To give that grace, to stretch and to be like, okay, it looks like they're digging at me, but maybe they're just really doing an appreciation and I'm choosing to hearing as a criticism. That happens a lot. So those are the ways in which we could allow more love by doing that shift, right? Looking at things from that different angle. And then on the more proactive side of that, so those are just ways of thinking, ways of looking at things. Now, in the tangible and in the practical, the takeaway is be proactive. So actually do the things that generate connection, that generate good feelings, that create connection, that create intimacy, that create closeness with no pressure, with no strings attached. Just show up from that place. Be proactive with your actions that generate those things. That's called relationship nurturing, by the way. And in that, you could also throw in some self-love habits, and you could do some partner love habits and all of the habits. So just check out the content, the blog, other videos, and look for that content. If you really want that and you're not sure where to find it, make a comment below and we'll be sure to send you a link so you could easily refer to it. Okay, so that was for part 2. Now for part 3, I'm sorry, that was part 3, my bad. So now I want to recap all the things. So we did, first one was alignment and oneness. The second one was open up to more. And the third one was allowing love. So for the first one, align with oneness, we have to remember that we are one, because we forget that very easily. We are joined. We are together. We are in oneness. We're not separate. We're not limited. We're limitless, and operate from that place. Very different experience, I promise. Then for part 2, the takeaway in the recap is to embrace more. What do you want? What do you want to experience? What is your purpose? What are you here to experience? What do you want to create? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And then action it, right? So what is your purpose, or what is your mission, and what kind of life you want to have, and take an action towards that. Now, if you're interested in going deeper with the whole purpose concept, check out the description below, or the captions below, for a link to get a one-page free downloadable to help you identify your purpose. Really fun exercise, so check it out. And then for part 3, the recap and takeaway is to address all of your patterns, do all of the playing, all of the reprogramming, and then be proactive about generating connection and generating love. Okay, so that is it, my loves. Have a fabulous rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this. I hope this served you. I look forward to hearing your comments or questions, insights, anything that you want to share with me, or anything that you want to know. Feel free to ask in the comments, and I look forward to staying connected with you, and I will see you at the next one. Thanks. Bye.